Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's good to see you. Welcome back to another lecture of EECS 498, Game Engine Architecture. I learned recently Game Engine Architecture is getting a new course number, a permanent course number. Can you guess which one it is? And actually, I will say this, I'm a little bit salty about this one, okay? A little bit salty. The committee, yeah. What do you think? What number is it going to be? Yes?
469.
469?
Yeah.
I think that was one of the options, and I wanted it.
Yeah.
I didn't get it. Yes?
467?
467? No. That was another one I wanted that I did not get. Okay. It's going to be, and you're going to realize, some of you will realize why I'm a little bit salty about this one. Game Engine Architecture will become EECS 404.
That's so low. That's awesome.
It's kind of cool because it's going to be the first upper level CS on any list in the course guide because it's so low. It's also a great number for an upcoming MMO course. Not so great for a Game Engine Architecture course. I happen to be working on a online multiplayer and MMO course, and imagine how cool it would have been to have EECS 404 for the networking course. Oh, I'm so salty. Oh, well. I think it's going to be a cool number. I'll start to, and you'll start to see references to EECS 404. When you see them, do not panic. Your course is not missing. It is simply being renamed in real time in front of you. Okay? So be aware that that's happening. If you look at where we currently are in the course schedule, you are finishing up your first homework assignment today, and we're launching the second one. The awesome news is that the second homework is very similar to the first. It is a natural extension of the first, and so if the first one, reasonably smoothly for you, then the second one should as well. If it didn't go so smoothly for you, then the good news is you've got this second homework to kind of catch back up, patch things up, and get back on track, okay? We've got lots of office hours for you throughout the week, so please make use of those if you're having a tough time. But before we talk about all that, I actually have something I really want to show you. This is something that actually makes me quite proud as a Wolverine. Have any of you heard of the famous fighting game engine Mugen? Okay, this one is a little bit of an internet mystery. If you haven't, if it's been a while, maybe you've seen it. This is a fighting game engine that famously has been used over decades. It's a fairly old engine at this point to bring fighting game characters and non-fighting game characters together for interesting matches. So you can see here, we've got SpongeBob and Patrick in a duel match against Mario and Luigi. Oh, and Squidward is popping in here on the right side here. This is an engine in which people had a lot of fun creating their own characters from scratch, but also pulling characters from different games. I think you're going to see a fan favorite character in just a few moments. But basically, you would find characters in different games. So I think that Patrick is from the SpongeBob movie game for Game Boy Advance, which I owned back in the day. That's the only reason I know that. So you'd often take sprites you'd find from different games, rip them out, and then you would embed them back into Mugen, and suddenly you had a fighting game character. Obviously, a lot of kind of illicit, non-sanctioned matches happened in Mugen. I don't know how Nickelodeon and Nintendo would feel about what I'm showing you right now, but it was a tremendous outlet for creativity. This was an engine released in 1999 by a very unknown, kind of mysterious company called Elecbyte. And up until about a year or two ago, it was kind of an internet mystery over who was Elecbyte, what were they, who were their founders, and where were they based. That was until I think one of the forum posters mentioned that they were trying to release their Mugen game commercially, and Elecbyte sent them a cease and desist letter. And that cease and desist letter had a post origin point as Ann Arbor, Michigan, which I just happened to notice. Well, I know about that city. I know a few things or two about businesses in this state. As it turns out, if a company exists in the state of Michigan, you can go to the, Michigan LARA entity search, and you can actually look up paperwork for any business that has ever existed in the state of Michigan. And we were able to find documents from a company called, Elecbyte. Boom, there we go. They're still here. And a founder, we don't know their founder, an agent, and someone involved named Jim Simpson. We were able to look up a bunch of their documents and filings, and we found several names, all of which popped up in the M community directory of U of M students. And we discovered that a bunch of UMich students made this engine, which is absolutely incredible, right? An impactful early fighting game engine that a lot of people have used, and it's kind of infamous for its meme matches, like what you're seeing right here, made by students like you. No kidding, no joke or exaggeration. Now, you can read about how we discovered this and some more details in this U of M article we posted a couple years ago. I thought that was the coolest thing I've seen in a long time. Very inspiring, too. Who knows what kind of cool engine or technology could come out of this year's Game Engine Architecture course, let alone the stuff that was happening in 1999 in this very city, on this very campus. So super cool stuff. There's an exceptionally crusty website for Mugen that thankfully is still up. You can download Mugen. I think it's free to download, and there's some tutorials and references to how to make characters on it. I want to show you this engine right now. So let's go ahead and play around with Mugen a bit. No, that's the wrong folder. Let's go to course materials. 494007, Game Engine of the Day, Mugen, and then when you get Mugen, you get it in this big folder called Engine. And within that engine is an executable, but then there are a bunch of folders. And within those folders is all the data that's going to bring your game to life. If you delete these folders, well, you've got no game anymore. So let's go ahead and run the game and actually see what it's like in its kind of default form. Okay, arcade. In its default form, you have two characters, Kung Fu Man or Kung Fu Man. If you can tell, one of these is slightly lower res than the other. And as far as I can tell, that's about the only difference. Let's see, the controls are a little bit... I have to remember the controls here. Oh yes, the M key. Yeah, who would have thought?
Okay, round one. Fight.
Okay, and I can run around and I can do all the things you kind of expect. Oh goodness, I can get my ass kicked. Oh my god, am I gonna hit this guy? There we go, right? I'm very impressed by the floor, which has reflections and is glossy, and the background is kind of stylistic, right? It's got a nice kind of realistic 2D parallax feel to it. And this is all pretty cool. But you're going to get bored of this pretty quickly, okay? Only two characters, which means even if you just play the single-player arcade mode, you're going to fight yourself about 5 times, and then the game just ends. We want something better than that, okay? The fun of music is of Mugen is finding more characters. So back in the day, this is how you would do it. And this is how I did it as a kid, okay? You would find a link on like a Mugen forum, okay? Some seedy link. And you'd go to it, you'd download some stuff, you'd hope you didn't get a virus. And you would, for instance, see that someone made our boy Shrek, okay, for Mugen. And we want to know if they did a good job. So let's go ahead and I already downloaded Shrek for us. And I'm going to go ahead and unzip that Shrek right there. And okay, there it is right there. Just going to bring it out. So we got Shrek right here. And in this folder is another folder and a bunch of other stuff. Act files, command files, air files. We can actually open these up in Notepad if we want to. And we might be able to kind of see what they're made of. So if you look here, this air file has some information, it looks like, relating to animations. So what frames to play, kind of what's happening on each frame. There's the crouch frame. We might be able to slow the animations down this way. This looks extremely painful way to animate animations, right? Line by line in a text file. That's not usually how you do it. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to take this Shrek file, and I think we need to drag this folder in here, right here. Now, just dragging the folder in isn't going to get us our character. I wish it would. It would be a more user-friendly engine if that were the case. But we actually need to go into data, and we need to go into select.def, and we need to edit that file. And you can see here that there's this little comment. Comments begin with a semicolon. It says, insert your characters below. We need to put the name of the character in, and then we need to specify what stage that character has as their home stage. We don't have any other stages, I don't think. So I'm going to go ahead and just give Shrek the Kung Fu Man KFM.def stage. And then I'm going to hope this all works, because I haven't played Mugen in 1 year. You know, the last time that I tried to give this lecture. So let's see what happens. Okay, let's go. Oh yeah. Okay. I remember many times as a kid when I was like trying to install the character and I would launch the game and be like, oh, it's not working. I can't see the character in here. This always made the dopamine hit when I saw the new character finally visible in the screen, the game. How do I select him again? Okay. You press comma to select.
Round one. Fight.
Oh my god. Why? I can't do anything. Oh, I'm getting bodied. Oh no! What the? Okay, there you go.
Round two.
Now, I think when many of these characters were made, there wasn't a concerted effort to balance them. And so you could often get characters that were extremely overpowered. And it looks like the AI was tuned very difficult there for whatever reason as well. But I hope just from that, you can kind of see the appeal, right? There are many thousands of characters available online, and people have made entire games full of characters, customized the menus, customized the way the game works, the cutscenes, the audio, some of the mechanics, and have created really interesting experiences. This engine has an open source remake called EECS. And this remake, this open source remake exists. It is backward compatible with all the Mugen assets, all the characters, and it exists because Electbyte never made the source code for the engine available. And their license has always been very restrictive. For whatever reason, Electbyte just doesn't seem to do very much with the engine except prevent other people from doing interesting things with the engine. So I'm not sure. Maybe they'll sell you a license if you pay them enough money. I don't know. But there are a bunch of interesting kind of proprietary formats that Electbyte discusses, different data types, different ways to do different things, and kind of customize how the game works. You can read about a lot of that if you want to. But as you look into this engine and how awesome and also crusty it is, just know that it's cool as heck that University of Michigan students appear to have made it. I've reached out to them, like asking, trying to get into contact. They just don't respond to me when I email them. So, who knows what's going on there. The last thing I'll say is that it uses SDL under the hood. Okay, and I think if we go into, the libraries, oh my goodness, would you look at that right down there, okay? That is a beautiful thing to see. You're going to be seeing these kind of DLLs very soon. Do not worry. Homework 5, you're going to be learning exactly how this engine uses SDL to do its thing because you are going to be using SDL to do your thing. So it's going to be, I think, a pretty good time. All right, any questions or comments on Mugen before we move on? Why on earth are we talking about Mugen? Well, game engine of the day. It's actually, I think, a very important thing that you not only understand how game engines are programmed under the hood and how to make your own, but also to understand what game engines are out there and what makes each game engine flavorful, what makes it unique. Game engines, as you are finding out very rapidly, have a lot of commonalities, okay? There are a lot of common objectives that game engines want to meet for you, and as a result, they will have a lot of similarities. But each game engine tends to have its own flavor, its own unique kind of objective. Mugen is all about fighting games, and so it really tailors to that. You can make other kind of games in Mugen, but fighting games are going to be what it's tailored for and what's going to be easiest in the engine to do. So on that final exam that's going to be here, in just a few months, we're going to want to know that you have at least a little bit of knowledge about some of the engines that exist out there, why they're well known, and why they're special, okay? So don't worry too much, but you want to know a little bit about these game engines of the day by the time the exams hit, all right? And I can't remember if these show up on the quizzes or not. I think they do very lightly on the quizzes, okay? So generally, you just need to look at the last few days, game engines of the days, and you'll have all you need to know for the latest quiz, okay? And quizzes are open book and open computer, so you can use that as well. Okay, I think the Twitch stream, is started. Very good. If you have not seen it yet, we have a Get a Job guide in which we have a lot of advice for how to prepare your resume and portfolio for recruiting season, for getting your first job, for getting internships. Make sure you please take a look at it. I will say the tech market for jobs, not super strong right now, right? You all know that. I do expect it to start getting better relatively soon, as well with the game industry. Something to note, a lot of jobs are being found in the academic space. There are a surprising number of laboratories at UMich, but also at other institutions that really need people who are strong in game engines. People who have a good knowledge of Unreal, people who know Unity, people who can integrate things into C++ projects. And so that would definitely describe you. Make sure that if you're looking for an opportunity, you don't neglect the academic labs that are at UMich and at other institutions. Reach out to them, send your portfolio, right? They might be looking for game dev stuff, and you will have much less competition for those opportunities than you will for the rare Blizzard or Activision or EA internships, okay? Give them a shot. And remember, your career, if you spend it wisely, it's going to be very long. It doesn't matter where you start, it matters where you're going. Get any opportunity if you can, okay? And then you can keep evolving that to the next thing. All right. Cool. Okay, so homework 2 is available. Very straightforward stuff. You are taking this custom game that you've made 3 times now, and you're adding additional features to it. It's really going to start to look like an actual little mini game by the time you're done. You're going to be adding collisions, you're going to be adding some sound effects, and you're going to have spawning actors, we call them. We'll talk more about actors in just a bit, what it means, but you're going to have enemies that spawn in from the side of the stage. You're going to have bullets you can spawn in. The bullets and the enemies collide with each other, deal damage. You're also going to have victory and ending screens as well. And some of the things you see here you don't need. You don't need the flashing feedback, the red flash to indicate damage. You also don't need the scrolling background, but if you get bored, go for it. I saw in some of the feedback that it starts to feel a little bit tedious toward the end. We don't really want it to be super tedious for you, but if you felt that 3 times was tedious and 3 different engines, oh my goodness. Have any of you seen this video? Right? 8 times and 8 different engines, the same game, okay? This poor guy, Emerald. So give it a look. He has some really interesting insights into the different engines and kind of what make certain things difficult and easy in them. And I think Emerald created an apple falling game. So apples fall and you need to kind of pick them up as they fall without them hitting the ground. So kind of a different game than you're making. But it should not be a super big problem for you. Homework 2, it might take a little bit more time, but you're also, hopefully getting a little bit of a feel for how to go about some of these things. Shouldn't be too bad, okay? Do any of you have any questions? All right, good. Who used ClickTeam Fusion in here? Anyone? How's it going? That is a crusty engine, man.
I kind of liked it, actually.
You like it?
It's kind of my favorite of all 3.
Ooh, all right. Sweet. I think they have a free version that's like limited in the number of things you can use. So you can
only have 1 project, or it closes the whole thing.
You can only have 1 project. Yeah. Ooh, okay. So be careful with some of these engines. Some of them are not super friendly to indies like us, but yeah, I'm glad you're able to make it work. Okay, good stuff. I think that's all I want to say on the topic of homework 2. Next lecture, you have the rare Wednesday quiz. Most of the time, your quizzes are going to be on Mondays, okay? But This quiz is going to be on Wednesday. The reason is because we want to talk to you a little bit more about game engines and the course and how it's set up before we test you on that kind of stuff. That's what's going to be mostly on the quiz. It's going to be a 20-minute long quiz unless you have an accommodation letter. And if you do have accommodation letters, just make sure that the accommodations department sent those to me. I'm going to be looking at those tonight, and we'll make sure you have as much time as you're allotted. Advice, bring a charged laptop device if you intend on doing the quiz here, because we have wonderful machines here, but if too many people show up, oops, there's no laptop here, there's no machine available. If you have a laptop, if it's charged, at least you can make it through the quiz before you run out of battery, and you should be fine, okay? The quiz normally is going to be 20 minutes in length. We will start 10 minutes late to make sure you can get here and get situated, get ready, get your Canvas open. The quiz is going to take place on Canvas. So you're going to want to be logged into Canvas and ready to go with that quiz number 1 up. And you're going to have 20 minutes for 20 questions. This is the kind of quiz where you kind of want to know either you need to know the topic, you want to know how to answer the question pretty quickly, or you want to know where that topic is discussed in the lecture slide so you can quickly get to it. And that'll help you answer the questions with enough time to get the points. Otherwise, I don't think the quiz, this first quiz, really not very hard at all. I would say the quizzes that come after are a little bit of a step up in difficulty. So you'll want to be kind of keeping up on lecture when that quiz rolls around. The topics for this first quiz on Wednesday is going to be the syllabus, course policies, which we're going to talk about today, and some game engine basics. So just kind of some of the stuff we talked about in discussion, and some of the stuff we're going to talk about today will be enough to get you through. And the stuff you're doing in your homework 1 and 2 should definitely be enough, okay? So should not be a big worry. And if you come in and you just get steamrolled by a quiz, you have a really bad day, or you forget that there is a quiz, then you can drop your lowest score. It's going to be 5 quizzes, so your lowest grade will be dropped. Rather, it will be maximized for you automatically. So you'll get a free 20 points on your lowest quiz. And that's going to be it. Going to be pretty simple. I'll put on some nice, relaxing music as we do it. This is open book, open technology. Please do not talk to each other or communicate during the quiz. That would not be good, all right? And otherwise, you should be totally fine. Any questions or comments? This may be done remotely. So if you cannot make it to lecture, you can do it remotely if you wish. Yes?
Is it OpenAI?
Is it OpenAI?
Yeah. Probably.
Oh, that's a tough question, because I can't say it's like open technology. That's a question I have not answered. And if I see it being used on the quiz itself, I'm probably going to answer that question. The answer is probably going to be no. But the thing is, you do sometimes get lied to. And I will say some of the questions aren't going to be possible to type in the amount of time that you have. So you will eventually be faced with questions where you've got a bunch of code, you're looking through it, you're trying to spot the bug. If you spend a bunch of time to send that to the AI, it might not be able to parse the image you send. And if you type it in, you're going to spend the entire 20 minutes just typing. So you won't get to the other questions. I would do your best not to use AI, but I have not made it a policy to forbid it yet. If I start to see people using it a lot, I'll forbid it on the next quiz, okay? So, and I'm curious whether it will actually be useful to you. I suspect it won't give you the advantage that you might think, but let me know if you do use it, because I'm actually curious, okay? All right, so let's talk about some course logistics. This is the kind of boring stuff that you never want to lead with when you are, making a film, or you are writing a novel, making a game, or designing a lecture, okay? Does anyone a fan of SpongeBob? SpongeBob, all right, I grew up with that show, and every year that goes by, fewer and fewer people really care. That's how it's. Yeah, just wait. That's going to happen to you too, okay? Sooner than you think. All right. This is one of my favorite clips from that show. The show is not really watched a lot by, I think, our generation these days, but the memes are still there and they still have some power.
What's his name? What's his name? I got something on the name. Baby, what's her name?
Yes, so a good example of what it's like, failures of logistics. I had some undergrad courses that felt a little bit like this at times, and we want to talk about this stuff so that it doesn't get this messy. I question, kind of more of a game design question, why don't we cover this stuff? Why don't we cover this stuff the first lecture? It's syllabus week, right? Last week was the week to be starting off with talking about the late policy, and why don't we do it in this course or any of my courses? Yes?
Maybe so we can get some experience with engines first to decide whether or not we liked it.
Yes, in a sense. Think about the last film that you watched. Does any film begin with a 20-minute long scene where the main characters just kind of talk about the state of the world? They just kind of talk to each other. Every film has those scenes, but they never start with them. Why? My favorite film, one of my favorite films, The Dark Knight, doesn't begin with Commissioner Gordon talking to the mayor for 20 minutes about how the mob is making a wreck of Gotham. How does it start? Anyone know?
Bank heist.
A big, exciting bank heist, okay? And everyone's stabbing each other in the back, and then suddenly the Joker shows up, right? And drives off with all the money. It's crazy. Does anyone remember how The Matrix starts? With a big philosophical discussion of how we've all been caged by modern society and how we're... No, do you remember how it starts? The Matrix.
Is it like Leo's in an office job? Or?
Not quite. Trinity, right, is being stalked by a bunch of agents and being chased through the city, right? You've got the famous slow-mo flying kick, super cool. Films and games and novels always try and hook you with an exciting intro, right? They're trying to prove that they are worth your time. Once you have hooked and engaged an audience, then you can deliver the dry, important stuff later. And that's kind of why when you're trying to engage any crowd, it's a very common technique. And hey, it shows up in courses sometimes too. But today is that day to talk about a little bit of the drier stuff, but then we'll get back to more interesting engine-related stuff. The lectures in this course, you already know a good bit about them. 4:30 to 6, 90 minutes. Not as long as the lectures in my other courses. We will not have a break in the middle of these lectures. They're not quite long enough to justify it. We will have lectures that are very much like the last two. It's me standing up here. We're talking about history of engines. We're talking about some theory of how to design engines. Now, we're talking about pros and cons of different approaches. I'm giving you industry stories and stuff like that. But there are other kinds of lectures we will have as well. Lectures that are a little bit more focused on implementation. Lectures that feel like workshops. We are programming things together. I'm up here showing you design patterns, showing you some techniques for how to build certain things, running some performance tests to show you the upsides of certain techniques. Okay, and we will have some lectures that are really very close to the homework, helping you try and get through a difficult part of the homework. We may have some guest lectures toward the end of the semester. We brought in Nate Hainish a couple semesters ago, the lead developer at Stardock. We're going to talk about that company. They have, it was said to me, they have about 12 core engine developers in that company, and they have about 6 different engines they're using across all projects. That is some tough math, okay? And we'll learn a bit more about them a bit later. Discussion sections are every Friday from, is it noon 30 to 1:30? When is it? 10:30 a.m.? 10:30 a.m. to 11:30. Okay, got to wake up early on Friday. You won't regret it, though. Discussion sections are some of our most valuable lectures. They are very focused on the homeworks and helping you keep up with a formidable amount of work in this course. If you attend lectures, if you at least watch their recordings, you'll find the course becoming drastically easier for you as you do so. They also can serve as discussion, as kind of office hour sessions as well. You can ask very specific questions about the homeworks and how to approach certain things. When you communicate with the course staff, know that I believe we're both Windows developers. We have Windows personal laptops, and so Windows is probably going to be the demonstration machine, an environment for most of the lectures. If you are a Mac and not a PC, or if you are a Linux person, that's totally fine. Most of the concepts will translate very easily, but you will have to make a translation. Computational resources are a big deal in this course. In fact, I, to my horror, just went over to Groundworks and discovered that they wiped their machines. Xcode isn't on their machines over there anymore. So what use is the Macs to us? Well, I'm going to have to go and coax them into installing Xcode again and installing some other stuff. But computational resources are a big deal in this course. We created this little matrix for you in order to kind of help you understand how you can gain access to some of these platforms. You have your own personal main platform. Maybe it's a Windows machine or a Mac laptop. But our engines need to be cross-platform. So they need to be buildable and runnable on Windows, Mac, and Linux if you want to get all those points for every assignment. We're going to make sure that you have the ability to do this by walking around campus and going to the Windows machines, the Mac machines, or the Linux machines. If you want Linux machines, you can find them in many of the other Kane labs, not this one. These machines do not have Linux installed. And that's going to be time intensive. You have to walk around, you have to go to North Campus, you don't always want to do that, especially on a weekend. You can sometimes, if you want Windows, you can virtualize Windows. You can dual boot Windows or use a virtual machine. For Linux, you can often do this too. I haven't heard many success stories of virtualizing Mac, like on a Windows machine. Good luck with that if you want to try. Apple makes a lot of things kind of difficult. The solution Apple wants you to fall back on is buy their hardware. And they're pretty good at making you buy their hardware. If you have a lot of coin, you can just purchase a PC or a Mac. You can often buy a Mac Mini or a decent Windows box, a small mini PC off Amazon for couple $100 and for a pretty decent Windows machine and a pretty crappy Mac, but whatever. It just needs to build, right? Just has to run Xcode. If you have a lot of friends who have these devices, you can sometimes ask them, hey, will you lend me your MacBook for just a moment? I want to see if I can clone my code down and build an Xcode. That would totally work, okay? Having lots of friends has its perks. Groundworks is right across the hall, and by the time we're done with them, they're going to have hopefully the things that we need. They used to have Unity installed and Xcode installed. I have no idea what happened. That's one of the tough things about running like 5 different courses. Each course has different dependencies, and those dependencies don't stay stable. They actually shift like quicksand. When you are building your own software in the future, every dependency you grab off the shelf is another point of risk. All right, so you're going to want to keep that in mind. Things like SDL move super slowly into the future. That's not quicksand, right? That's like nice, super solid soil to build a tall building in. Unity does advance all the time, but it stays very backward compatible, very nice. They don't change their UI all that often. Unreal is in Epic Games. Unreal is just constantly breaking EECS 440, and I have to every year go and update my stuff. It's quite a pain. So they are very quicksand. Anyway, the high-level schedule, a quick reminder. These first 2 weeks, okay, kind of chill, right? Not a low amount of work, but not super difficult work. We are exploring game engines. If you have never heard of a game engine in your life, these are your 2 weeks to get kind of a taste of what they're about, what they can do, and what the different kinds of engines are. Minimalist engines, integrated engines, big and featureful, and those nice beginner drag and drop engines to try and help you learn programming. Then, as soon as we hit this kind of third week, we are going to start on about 9 weeks of genuine, from-scratch game engine production. You are going to create your own game engine from scratch. It will be very standardized, right? It will have to meet very strict requirements. So your engines will have very similar output for very similar input. But the way that you choose to program these engines, the architecture you use, the techniques you use, the performance you're able to achieve, all going to be different. All right. So I think it's very fun for students to talk about how they went about solving certain challenges. And certainly certain choices are better than others. Okay, toward the end of the course, we'll have 1 week of exam prep, and then we will have 2 weeks of custom engine research where you get to add your own feature. Should be a good time, okay? And you can get a feel for all of this. If you're ever confused about what's going on and what you should do, all of that good stuff, go to the front page of Canvas. You'll see that big course schedule, and you already know how to read it. The lecture plans and slides will be put over there in kind of the left column. Assignment links will be right up there in blue. The hyperlinks will come alive as we reach certain assignments. So you can't really look into what this homework is about yet, unless you're very clever. But you can look into what the homework 2 is all about now. Okay? So pretty simple. If you see a green block, it's starting that day at 4:30. If you see a yellow block, that's your hint that you should be working on something. And if you see red, that assignment is due at 4:30 or before 4:30 on that day. Okay? So not too difficult. You'll see that sometimes you have multiple things going on at the same time, like a reading and a homework. And this kind of presentation allows you to very quickly gauge that you have multiple things to care about at any given time. You should be a little bit careful because the way that we grade you isn't really illustrated on the schedule. You need to look at the rubrics, which is on the assignment in Canvas itself. If you look at the rubric, you'll see exactly how we're going to grade you and exactly how many points are going to be awarded for certain things you do. And so be sure to check that out. That'll give you a little bit more information that's not available on the schedule. Some policies. Sometimes it's not obvious how valuable a point is, right? Some classes have point inflation, where it's like, yeah, I just did an extra credit worth 5 points, and that's literally nothing, okay? Like the course has like 100,000 points in it. This course has 1,000 points in it, about 1,000 points, and so it's fairly clear how valuable certain things are, like extra credits. The exploration assignments are fairly valuable, free 10%. Pretty much. These are not very, super challenging assignments. They're not very harshly graded. Engine production is a big, nice chunk of the points in this course, about 350 points. What's more, these engine production homeworks will get you more points on the exam if you do them to a high level of quality. The best way to study for your exam is to do an effective job on your engine production assignments. The exam is not a huge chunk compared to some of the exams I've seen, but it's a decent chunk. The midterm exam, the only exam you're going to have, is 25%, 250 points. Your engine research, your final 2 homeworks, going to be worth 150 points. Those are very generously graded, and so this nice big chunk of points pretty much sitting right there for you. You put in the hours, you're going to get those points. The quizzes are worth about 100 points. So not the end of the world if you mess up a few of those, but you want to do the best job that you can. And the post-mortem, an essay assignment, a reflection at the very end of the course, right? No one wants to write an essay, but actually this essay is very cathartic. Students really enjoy writing this essay and looking back at the journey of putting together your own game engine from scratch. It is, sometimes a bit of a harrowing journey, sometimes a really satisfying one. And I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy looking back and getting this pretty much free 50 points. Yes?
What's the difference between engine research and exploration?
Exploration is what we're doing right now, right? We're just using existing engines. We're building a well-known genre, the shmup or cute-em-up genre, and just learning about what engines are kind of out there. The engine research is going to be 2 homework assignments where you decide on some unique custom feature that your engine is going to have and your peers not going to have, okay?
So that's
So-
going to be implementing our custom feature, the engine
Yeah.
search. Okay.
Yeah, you want to add 3D to your engine, you want to rip out Lua and put Python in, go for it, okay? All right, extra credit, you're going to have several opportunities. One of the biggest ones is just giving feedback after an assignment. So when you look at an assignment, many of you have found this already, but when you look at an assignment in this course, they all end with this nice, let's see here, this nice little feedback button. Well, I tried to make it look like a button anyway. You click on it and you give feedback on the assignment as long as it's meaningful feedback. Don't just put a word like some students just put good right there, and that makes me sad. We don't count those points. We'll be giving you points for every assignment you do that for. Okay? So we really appreciate your feedback. It really helps us iterate and polish and smooth the course. It's a very, very new course. And so things are already going really well, but we want them to go really, really well. So we need your feedback to do that. Yes?
For extra credit, can we do it for the homeworks that have already passed? So for homework,
You can. So there's this anti-pattern that happens that's funny, morbidly funny, but also like we really don't like it, where a student forgets to do any of their feedback the entire semester. In the final day of the semester, the student issues feedback for every assignment in the course. And I'm reading that feedback like, you don't remember what homework 3 was really like, okay? Like the more distance between the moment of you giving the feedback and you doing the thing, like the less accurate your feelings are. And we really want good, accurate stuff. So please, do the homework and then boom, just kind of go down there and just rattle off at the very bottom, just rattle off a few thoughts on how it felt, if anything tripped you up, why, right? And boom, extra credit right there, done. We really appreciate it. So thank you. Okay, let's keep going. So extra credit opportunities. Target median grade for this course, not decided by me. Okay, I have to target a B in this course. Sometimes I don't hit it. I think our average was like a B+ last semester. But we're going to target that B grade. But hey, if you all make amazing engines and do excellently on the exam, then I'll go and I'll argue with the department as much as I need to give all of you A+. So you're not going to be, this course probably will not be curved, and certainly you're not in competition with each other, okay? Help each other out, be cooperative, do not copy and paste code to each other, but do have debates and share your successes and failures in that Discord, okay, and in person. Collaboration policy is pretty light for an upper level CS. Please check assignment specifications, the documents for restrictions and rules. High-level peer discussion is really encouraged. We hope you'll do that. And just do not copy and paste code from your code base, your repo, to another, okay? There are no teams in this entire course. And so we should not find your exact code in someone else's project, okay? Aside from some standardized bits that we give you. Okay, participation. Do you need to attend this lecture? No. Do you need to attend on time? Definitely not. You don't even need to watch the lectures. If you want to do this course on like super hard professional difficulty challenge run mode, then you attend no lectures and just do the best you can. But lectures are recorded. We encourage you to watch them, review them, watch them at double speed, watch them multiple times, whatever you want to do. And one of the things, start a class, okay? A little bit before class. There are late penalties in this course on non-auto-graded assignments. So your first 2 assignments and your last 3 assignments, you will get a 20% penalty for turning things in 24 hours late or less. If it's any more than that, or if it is 24 hours late or more, then we're not going to grade it. Okay, that's a big 100% penalty. Easy way to fail a class right there is to not turn things in. If you've got anything, turn it in. Okay, we're looking to give you points. We can be fairly generous in our grading, I think. Auto-graded assignments, you can be late until the auto-grader shut off. We do not care. The moment that you are late, you get a 20% penalty on whatever your score is. But after that, you can take as much time as you want. Do not get trapped by this. We have had students implode in the past because they put everything off until the last week before the auto-grader off date. They thought they would be able to grind it out. They failed hard. Okay, it was not even close. It turns out the assignments are much easier to do if you're doing them around the time that relevant lectures and discussion sections are happening. If you do the assignments when most other people are doing them, the debate is better. The discussion is more effective, okay? You learn more efficiently. And so if you fall really far behind, that's really going to be kind of a snowball effect. It's going to be hard to get caught back up, but we can get you caught back up. You do need to come to office hours. You do need to talk to us, okay? So do not lose hope, okay? Don't let your spirit fall apart if you start to fall behind. But if you do fall a bit behind, we want to get you caught up as soon as we can. The good news is that some assignments don't require all of last week's engine. So there are some checkpoints, you can kind of think of them as, where you can catch up a bit faster than you might think if you're careful. This is a Python program describing the late policy for the non-auto-graded assignments in this course. Pretty simple stuff. The official timekeeper for whether something is late is Canvas for the non-auto-graded stuff, or it is the autograder for the auto-graded stuff. The autograder will timestamp your submission the moment it finishes auto-grading and knows your final score. So if you submit 1 minute before the deadline and it takes 5 minutes to grade you, you're late, okay? The autograder is going to mark you late. Bummer. If you submit, and there's 10 minutes left, and oops, it looks like there are 5 people ahead of you in the autograder, it's bad news, okay? Should have submitted a little bit earlier. So we'll talk a bit more about that when we launch that first auto-graded assignment in a week from now, all right? Oh, man, it's going to be so much fun. Last night I was up again. It was very irresponsible until about 3 a.m. because I was grinding the first homework because historically, the students blow my first homework solution out of the water in terms of performance. I'm not sure what it is, but I guess I coded that one very, very slowly. And hopefully it won't be quite the blowout that it usually is. But I will say homework 4 has very good performance in the staff solution. So that's a bit of a tough one. You have to optimize a lot of things to get all the points on homework 4, but you'll do it. You'll do it. Okay. So if a disaster happens, you will get an extension only if it was truly out of your control and widespread. If the auto graders, like all of them, go down it's just like you can't submit, you'll get an extension for that. We usually give a 24-hour extension if you can bring the auto grader down in the last few minutes of an assignment. Don't try it, okay? Or we'll start penalizing you. But if Canvas goes down for everyone, that'll also get an extension. If it only goes down for you, probably because your Wi-Fi signal is spotty, you will not get extended for that, okay? All right, quizzes and the exam. All right, this is, I think, one of the most essential. It's kind of painful. I never enjoyed quizzes. I never enjoyed exams. I'm kind of regretful that I have to have them. But in an era of AI, we need to make sure the human is still kind of developing, okay? And the way we do that, one of the best ways for us to guarantee that you have this knowledge in your head and not just in front of you in your machine, your laptop, your phone, you AI glasses, okay, is to have a traditional pen and paper exam. That's what you're going to have. At the end of the semester, you're going to have a pen and paper exam. We've done a lot of work to make it as pleasant as possible an experience, but it's a really, really important thing, I think, especially for kind of making sure you don't get addicted or overly reliant on AI. So bi-weekly quizzes, about every 2 weeks you're going to have them. We encourage you to bring a device, as we said earlier. 20 minutes, 20 questions. You're going to want to move fast. You will get a little bit of an extended time if you have that accommodation letter. I'll punch that in like tonight. We'll tell you the topics before lecture. We'll give you a pretty good idea. Not super hard. Your lowest score is going to be maximized. And they are open book. They are open note. Okay. And so hopefully it won't be too bad. The exam also hopefully won't be too bad. The deal in this course is that I make the projects, the homework's pretty tough. And in exchange, the exam is not cruel, okay? Not cruel at all, actually. It's going to be in person. That has to be in person. It's pretty much the only thing that we require to be in person. You must take this exam in person. And it's going to occur kind of toward the end of production. You can check the schedule. Currently, I'm trying to get this exam. I haven't locked it in, but I'm trying to get this exam. It's going to be Friday on the 3rd, okay? The 3rd of April. And it's going to be in the Beister Building, 1670 probably. This is an exam designed for 2.5 hours, but we give you 4. Basically what we've done is we've, the accommodations, like sometimes 1.5 time, we just gave it to everyone. If your accommodation requires double time or more than that, then we might give you even more time on top of this. But in general, you are given ample time to think about all of your answers and to review them and really show us what you know. Okay, let me see here. No discussion that day. Yep. I'll let you know when this is locked in, and we will expect you to be there. All right? Let me see. Please reach out right away if you have any problems with that. Maybe we can help you. Maybe we can't. So we'll see. All right, accommodations, must have that letter through the SSD office, but we'll take care of you for sure. AI policy in this course. AI, very, very big deal. In my experience, it can accelerate your learning process dramatically, or it can break you. Okay, and you decide which one it's going to be. We encourage this as a learning tool. We think you should think of this as a dramatically improved search engine technology in which you can actually kind of poke and prod at the answers that you get. So if you look up an API, for instance, for SDL, you can actually ask questions about how the parameters work and whether there are any alternatives available to you. And so I found it to be extremely effective for learning. Oh, darn it. Let me see here. Let's go to copy link address. Sweet. Here we go. Okay, so what can we ask? So let's ask a little bit about SDL. Hey GPT, I hope you're doing well. You gotta get them on your side first, okay? And then you want to be very, very specific. I am using SDL version 2, one of the latest versions, and I am hoping to render a pixel to the screen. I would like the pixel to be red. What functions does SDL have available to me to accomplish this? So you're being very specific about your objectives. You're being very specific about what version and what context, what environment you're operating in. And look at this. Oh, look at this. Oh, what? How kind. Hey, I'm pixel perfectly happy to help. Okay, interesting. All right. With SDL2, you have a couple approaches, blah, blah. Most common way to manipulate an SDL texture. So they're giving you some higher level ideas here. This will be very similar to some of the stuff we might say in a lecture. But down here, you're literally getting these function calls that you can try and start experimenting with, right? You're getting some information about how these parameters work, right? These are pixel coordinates, so not the kind of scene coordinates that we're going to have in our engine. And you're getting even some alternatives as well. You got some example usage. Okay. It used to be the case that you had to crawl through some pretty nasty documentation to maybe sort of understand what's going on. And if you wanted some elaboration on how these APIs worked, or you were getting some really weird behavior or some crashes to happen when you used the function, you'd have to like reach out to whatever forum or group chat the team had set up, or you might even have to email the authors or the leaders of the project. It could take weeks to get an answer to your problem. Now, not too bad, right? You will occasionally get false information. The nice thing about our profession is that the compiler backs us up quickly. If you get false information from ChatGPT, the compiler will quickly object to it, and you can experiment to learn what the truth is. Often when you point out the truth, it will get corrected and you'll get actual, genuine information. This is not that much different from like your typical IA, or office hours experience, where on occasion we might accidentally tell you something wrong because we misremembered it, or it's been a year since we taught the class, okay? So I encourage you to use ChatGPT in a manner similar to this. Ask what is available to me, and then ask it follow-up questions, right? Why is the function designed this way? Why do we need to provide this render parameter? You'll learn some history about API design and the context of when SDL was created. And that's stuff that, you might get in lecture and discussion, you might not. So pretty cool stuff. But do not become overly reliant. If you are falling behind, there will be pressure to overuse AI, and that will shatter you when the exam comes. That will shatter you by like homework 5, when the code base starts to become so big that the AI assistants start to give really poor advice. So anyway, be very careful about AI, but I would encourage you not to ignore it either. Okay, when new disruptive technologies appear, there can be a strong incentive to ignore them, regardless of whether you like them or not. Okay, it can be an ethically hideous thing, but the genie is out of the bottle, and you will either understand what it is or you will not. And one of these positions is a lot more fruitful and impactful for you than the other. Okay, all right, so some resources for you. We have a lot of office hours. We had office hours last night for about 3 hours, 8 to 11 p.m. 8 to 11 p.m. Sunday. So please make use of that one right before your deadlines. That should be super useful. But we have a lot of them all week. The chain of help in this course is when you run into an issue, we expect you to spend about 15 minutes trying to solve the problem yourself. And that means experimenting, okay? That means a bit of debugging, that means Googling, that means asking your AI assistant. But after that 15-minute timer is up, the timer goes off, you need to post to Piazza, okay? You need to take that problem and put it on a background thread. Piazza doesn't exist this semester, so the slide's a little bit out of date. Post to Discord, okay? Ask on Discord, or bring it to office hours. In any case, work on something else. Your morale will be in a much better place. There's nothing worse for your energy, your spirit, than slamming your head against the same problem for 5 hours only to discover it was a dumb little thing, right? You just don't learn that much from that kind of experience. So, do not let yourself get bogged down by the same problem for too long. And in this course, you need to use version control just to submit something. So one thing I do is if I start running into some nasty memory-related issues, it's like, I just can't track down this bug. You know how I solved the bug? The nuclear option. What is it? Revert. Exactly. I'd say, discard my changes. This thing's cursed, okay? Discard my changes, like go make a sandwich, and then come back, and everything is working again. Let's try this again, okay? Round 2. There is a lot of great communities. A lot of great communities on campus. ARI, the XR Club, Wolverine Soft, IGDA Ann Arbor, all of these groups around campus are going to have students who have been through this course or have game engine knowledge of their own through just their own personal work. And so these communities can help you out. They can give you advice. They can look into something for you, whatever you want. This is a challenging course, okay? No way around it. That's not considered a feature. It's considered a bug. We're always trying to make the course easier and smoother for you without sacrificing your knowledge outcomes. But it is still a challenging course. If you start to feel like you're having some mental challenges, if you're starting to feel like the semester is falling apart, you're falling behind, it's snowballing now, right? If you start feeling yourself just really getting down, a bit depressed, please reach out. Do not keep it to yourself. Very hard to solve those kind of challenges yourself, and it is not something to be ashamed of in the slightest. I could tell you stories of my undergrad and grad experience. It was very difficult for me mentally, so I know where you're coming from. And CAPS has a pretty good reputation, but it is also has a reputation for being a bit hard to schedule. So try and get with them if you can. Very professional advice from them. But your instructors, your staff, can help you as well. If you're having challenges, please raise those challenges to us, reach out to us. You can do so anytime, anywhere, any place, and we'll be happy to help you out. Okay, we've seen a lot of people go through this course. It's a pretty new course, but we've seen hundreds of people do it. And we've seen what some of the challenges look like, and we've seen how people can recover from those. We can give you context. If you have a bad week, you have a bad quiz, if you bomb the exam, it's not the end of the world, okay? You're going to make it, and we're going to get you back on track. So don't lose faith. Just try and do the best you can and reach out whenever you need help. That is the number one rule of each one of my courses, actually. I've said this 3 times today. Please communicate with us. We can't solve problems. We can't help you with things that we don't know about. And we can't really know about them unless you reach out. So please don't be worried. It is literally our job to make this experience as fruitful for you and as nice for you as we can. Okay? And we're going to do that. So please let us know if you have any problems. Does anyone have any questions on any of this logistical stuff? Yes?
Is there kind of going to be the same extra credit as 494 when there's outside events, or is that not really going to be?
I think there is for IGDA Ann Arbor. Yeah, I think there is. You can check Canvas, though, and maybe it's there. We do remove some extra credits if we're trying to not inflate, we're trying to deflate the point situation. If the average grade is too high, we're kind of pressured to do that. But, okay, what I want to do is I want to stop talking about boring logistics. I want to talk about modern game engines. Does anyone know what this is? When this curtain raises, what are we going to see?
Mario 3, Mario Luigi.
Exactly. Super Mario Brothers 3. The curtain lifts and suddenly the brothers run out. They're jumping around. They're putting on a show for you. Okay? The logo comes down. The background comes in. Okay? They look like billboards. They look like props set up by the theater team. This is a game themed around the theater. Okay? And this is actually, pretty pervasive throughout the game. It's not just the title intro. Every stage in this game, or almost every stage, ends with Mario literally running off stage, okay, away from the crowd, where things end, okay? And you just run right off stage. This is not the first last time that Nintendo would use the theater motif. In fact, they are very much into the theater motif. It's showing up in their menus and UI. It is the basis of their battle systems in a lot of their games. Nintendo loves the theater. Okay? And it just keeps showing up, even into the modern era. Their games are being themed around the theater. This is definitely not a mistake, okay? It's not a coincidence. Shigeru Miyamoto is one of Nintendo's most prolific developers and creators. He's responsible for creating Mario, Legend of Zelda, Pikmin, and some other stuff. In the early days of Nintendo, where, it was just a very critical time. Everyone working extremely hard, right? There's a documentary I found that actually gave us a look at some of the early moments in Nintendo's development. You can actually even see inside their office. I love seeing the cool American cartoons I kind of grew up with, kind of serving as some inspiration for them. But this team would work exceptionally hard and late into the night, okay? They were pioneers, and pioneers never have it easy. And actually, morbidly, they would work very hard all day, and then Mr. Miyamoto would come up to the team, and he would say, "All right, team, it's Mario time." And Mario time means good things for the consumer, for a player, right? But Mario time for the dev team meant we're going to put in a few more hours to make sure that our game is special, all right? The team worked super hard, but at the end of their week, okay, at the end of that difficult work period, they would hang out together and they would go to the theater. They would go to the theater, okay, where they would see things that really spoke to them. The theater, as it turns out, if you're looking for an art form that is interactive before games, theater was that art form, okay? In theater, each performance is a little bit different than the last performance. And in fact, what sometimes happens in theater, can you think of any really interactive moments in theater, like especially interactive? Yes?
Just applause, the whole idea of the audience praising the actors.
Yes. Yes, strategic pauses as well. Sometimes, literally, in a theater show, the characters will interact with or discuss or debate with the audience as a part of the show. When you look at a theater performance like this, you also start to see some things that might be familiar. We have here a dynamic, somewhat interactive world, art form, that kind of springs to life. Everything here is technically fake. It's not happening. But if we show things in the right order, if we make them move properly, everything just starts to feel real, right? Realness from fakeness. That really does describe games. If you've made games before, you know that. When we look at this, we see a few familiar things. We see a bunch of actors. Okay? A bunch of actors that we can make do interesting things. We see props and other objects in the background as well. And if you collect all these things together, all the actors together, that collection of actors is called a scene. And if we want our actors to do things, what do you have to give them? Well, you have to give them a script. Okay? An actor needs a script to read and tell them what to say and do, when and where and to whom and how. Okay? And sometimes actors have multiple scripts, it turns out, right? Some actors, you will just have them do a dance, but sometimes an actor will have a dance script, but they'll have something that wants them to sing, and then they'll have some lines, a script of dialogue that happens after that's all finished. Okay? And in the world of, games, we have the exact same setup. Okay? The people who were making early games loved their theater, and in some ways they were inspired by it. In Super Mario Brothers, right here, we have some clearly identifiable actors. One might be interesting. This is not a humanoid actor, but you'd better believe it has things to do at a certain time, at a certain place, in a certain way. Okay? So we consider inanimate objects to be actors as well. You might call them props or objects. Different engines have different terminology for these things, okay? But we'll call it an actor. We have props as well. We have this big scene that's a collection of all the actors, and if we want these objects, these actors to do different things, we have to give them different scripts, okay? Kind of cool stuff. Mario has always been seen by Nintendo as an actor. This is why when Nintendo wants to make a sports game or a puzzle game, they call their famous actor the Tom Cruise of Nintendo, okay? Mario. Yeah, he'll be your doctor. You need a doctor for a game, just call Mario up. You need a tennis player? Yeah, he can do that now. A racing car driver, a kart racer? Mario will do whatever you need, okay? He's your actor. And a lot of Nintendo's characters behave that way. From interviews, Nintendo's devs have said one of the reasons they kind of try and keep Mario's lore not super deep is so that Mario can be flexible. He can be anything Nintendo needs him to be for whatever new gameplay design that they have in mind. Have you ever heard of a game called Splatoon? It's a game that involves shooting these paint guns around an environment. And you're trying to paint the environment in your color, and you can use that paint to go through the environment and do interesting platforming and parkour. That game was originally a Mario game. They had called Mario up, said, hey, we need Mario to... Mario, we got a third-person shooter, you in? And they eventually decided that he wasn't the best fit. They created unique characters. Probably a good idea. But Mario's just an actor performing roles. The theater motif is very, very big in game dev. Game developers and designers are often big into theater, and you see bits and pieces of this across all of the engines. But frustratingly, most of the game engines out there don't use the complete motif. So in Unity, you have the concept of scripts. Okay, good. You have the concept of scenes. Good, we're almost there. And then Unity calls their actors game objects. It's ruined, okay? It's trashed. Unreal Engine. Unreal Engine has, what does it have? It has actors. Good, excellent, very good start. And then it uses maps instead of scenes. And it uses blueprints instead of scripts. So, okay, very frustrating. This is a typical game engine editor. Oh, and by the way, your engines won't make this mistake, okay? Your engines will use the full and complete theater motif. So make sure you remember that. Okay, a typical game engine editor kind of looks like this, okay? Big viewport, big beautiful viewport, but there could be a lot of things in that viewport, so we need some sort of list we can search by name to find that little needle in the haystack. All the engines have this. This is Unity. We've got actors. We have a scene, a collection of actors, which we can see right there. And we have a bunch of scripts that the actors will perform. Okay? And this is how most integrated engines are set up. If you look at Unreal, if you look at Godot, you'll find pretty much the exact same UI. The terminology will be somewhat different. But it's all about actors in your scene that are running some scripts. That's it. That simple. Standard terminology comes from theater. It's the integrated engine experience. These are examples of integrated engines, right? We've got Unity, Unreal, Godot, Scratch even. We might call that one integrated. It does have a lot of features in it. It's kind of a shared integrated and beginner drag and drop engine. It's kind of in both categories. But that is not the only engine, okay? That's not the only kind of engine that's out there, these big integrated engines. A question for you. How much, so we've got integrated engines, we've got minimalist engines, and beginner drag and drop engines. Raise your hand if the integrated engine you did was your favorite. No. Okay, a handful of you, okay. What about the beginner drag and drop engine, MIT Scratch Game Maker Construct? Okay, I knew this was coming. How about that nice, freedom-loving, programming-heavy minimalist engine? Oh yeah, okay. Do we need all those big features and abstract concepts that the integrated engine gives us? The modern, big, flashy, romantic, integrated engine. Do we need actors, scenes, scripts? Do we need a collision editor? Okay, do we need an animator built in to the engine right there for us? Or can we just stick with the minimalist engines? Things like Monogame, Love 2D, Pygame, where you start from scraps and you build up yourself. Only what you need, though, right? We don't need these concepts of theater motif. We don't need these big, chunky, confusing UI elements, okay, editors. What do you get? Well, have you ever seen this clip before? This is a very famous clip. I love this clip so much. All right, I love the spirit of this clip. I think you will too. Let's watch.
It's impossible. Tony Stark was able to build this in a cave with a bunch of scraps.
That is the spirit of minimalist engines. You are starting in a cave with a box of scraps, and you will build only what you need. Everything that's in your game will come from your hands. Not some library, you plucked over here, right, that someone else made. No, it's you. It's your own stuff. You control it all. You understand it all. It's a very freeing experience, interestingly. Okay? So box of scraps, let's talk about it, right? Minimalist engines will usually give you some form of game loop. You need a way to run your logic, boom, 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 every frame, not just once, like most computer programs, right? Typical EECS 281 program, you've got a main function, it's only going to run once, okay? So you got to do everything right there on that one frame. No, you're going to have an update loop of some sort. Sometimes it's called update, sometimes it's called update, and sometimes it's called tick. Sometimes it's something else, right? But this function is going to be presented to you, and the engine itself will call it automatically. So you don't have to worry about that part, all right? You are given very little else. One thing you're usually given is kind of a default way to draw something. Draw an image, a PNG, a JPEG, okay? At a certain location with a certain tint sometimes if you're lucky. And sometimes you're also given functions for rendering some audio. I got a WAV file, I just want to play it. Okay? The minimalist engines will give you some kind of basic functionality like this so that you can spend most of your time thinking about your game logic. But that's kind of it, okay? You often don't get collision detection. You usually do get some input handling, but that's pretty much all. That's all, folks. And that's a pretty good place to start, actually. Do you need this rich visual editor? Not really. Okay, for a lot of games, you really don't. In fact, it's way too much. What's the point? Well, if you look at this editor, you may see a world of rich features. Look at all the things you can do, right? But actually, the conveniences that a modern integrated editor like Unity gives you, none of them come for free. What am I talking about? I just downloaded it for free. No, I'm talking about time. I'm talking about complexity. In order to even start with Unity, you need to know what all this UI does. You need to watch some YouTube tutorials, okay? You can't just start programming. You might not even know how to open a component or a script yet, all right? In a minimalist engine, it's just a text file right in front of you. Open it in Notepad++ or Visual Studio Code. Who cares? Open it in anything and just go, okay? Minimalism gives you advantages of simplicity and control. If you don't write it, it's not going to be in your game. And because there's just no UI to learn, there are no tools to learn. There are a couple function calls you need to know about that'll fit on, a postcard. That's it. You can rock and roll. You can just move immediately. It is amazing, okay? It's very satisfying being the underdog, and minimalist engines give you that feeling. Okay, a lot of very impressive games were made on minimalist engines. You ever heard of Celeste? Okay. Streets of Rage 4. I like that one. There are a lot of games made on Monogame. It's a huge one, actually. So, very cool stuff. One interesting question for you is when you are choosing an engine, there are engines that already exist out there. Unity, Unreal, Monogame, Pygame, all these great engines. MIT Scratch, they're off the shelf. They're just right there. Anyone can walk into the store, go to the internet, and just grab them, okay? Boom, they're right there, you got them. That's off the shelf. But sometimes, we don't use off-the-shelf engines. If you go to Sucker Punch Productions in Bellevue, Washington, you'll walk into an office and you'll see an engine that you've never heard of before. You might not even know its name. They probably won't tell it to you. There's no point. It's not like you can use it. Okay? There are engines out there that are built by companies internally to be their secret sauce. Okay? These engines are sometimes talked about and known. Sometimes they are very obscure. I still don't really know what Nintendo's inner engines are. I think I've heard their name once, but I know almost nothing else about them. The Creation Kit is a fairly famous one. This one is made by Bethesda, and it is an engine that's very good at supporting big open worlds, right? No one does gigantic open worlds like Bethesda does. Elder Scrolls Skyrim, Oblivion, Fallout, right? What about this one? Anyone know what this one is?
Is that Frostbite?
Bingo, it's Frostbite. It's Frostbite, made by EA's DICE team, I think in Sweden, right? Yeah, and they are famous for what? What is this engine killer at? You know? First person, Battlefield. First-person shooters with intense, destructible environments. Okay? There are a lot of game engines like Unreal that can do first-person shooter gameplay very effectively. But Unreal doesn't do destructible environments like DICE does, like Frostbite does. Okay? What about this one? You know this one? This one I think is getting more famous. I think I know which one this is. It's been a year since I thought about it. This is Decima. Death Stranding, Horizon, okay? Guerrilla Games, gorgeous exterior environments, okay? Extremely impressive engine, these engines are. And the question is, well, why would you choose an off-the-shelf engine versus a custom in-house one? Well, there are a lot of different metrics you could look at this from, a lot of different perspectives, okay? Off-the-shelf engines, right? Engines like Godot, Unreal Engine, GameMaker, Monogame, Unity. We've got other in-house engines, Creation Kit, Frostbite, Decima. We got lots of great studios using both of these types, okay? Square Enix, MiHoYo uses a lot of Unity. Stardock uses Unity. Square Enix, I think, said they were going all in on Unreal Engine, I think, recently. I'm not sure about that one. Almost all tiny teams use an off-the-shelf engine. Why? Because most indie devs can't do what you're going to be able to do at the end of this course. But in the in-house engines, we've got companies like Naughty Dog, Nintendo, EA, Sucker Punch, Stardock, right? These are very prestigious studios, and often they do have their own internal game engine that no one else can touch. You can't use that. That's our secret sauce. The expense is low. If you're using an off-the-shelf engine, you don't have to fund or pay the salaries of a big engine team. Unity is going to do that for you. The team at Epic Games is working for you, in a sense. Okay? They make your engine, not you. You just use it. Very low, very nice. If you are making an in-house engine, oh my goodness, okay? The kind of engineers who can build high-quality engines are not cheap. And you need a big team. The good news is that you're going to recoup some of that because you have no licensing fee. If you use an off-the-shelf engine, there's a good chance you're going to have to pony up when you start making money. You're going to have to pay a royalty. Not bad. In our first lecture, we talked about how great that licensing model was, especially for indies. Okay, you don't have to pay any money until you make money. But in-house, you pay a lot of money to fund all those salaries, but you have no licensing costs. Maybe it's worth it, maybe it's not. Recruiting is a huge, huge issue, okay? For off-the-shelf engines, with lots of community documentation, online YouTube tutorials, a bunch of other studios are using Unity as well. You can easily hire. There are tons of Unity devs out there, okay? Unity is taught in all the universities that care about game dev are going to probably teach Unity or Unreal, okay? But if you have a proprietary secret sauce engine that you deliberately tell no one about, how are you going to find people who know that engine? Anyone? The only people you can hire are people you've previously fired or laid off or who have left of their own volition. And like only the last category there, you're probably going to be excited to rehire. It's very hard. You have to bring in excellent generalist engineers and you have to train them up on your secret sauce. And then once they leave, they can't use that knowledge anywhere else. Well, not really. They kind of can if they're making engines other places. But so recruiting is really hard, okay? We're struggling over here, okay? Like we're 0 for 2 for the in-house engines. The community is a big one as well. When you have a very accessible off-the-shelf engine that creates a lot of knowledge out there, a lot of documentation, a lot of resources, a lot of people using your engine means that it's going to have fewer bugs, okay? More people using the engine, you're going to find more bugs, you're going to fix them. But for the in-house situation, it's minimal, okay? You're kind of lucky if you have documentation for everything you need in the in-house engine because your incredible engineers that are super expensive could either be writing documentation for the engine or creating the new big feature that's going to sell your game. So which of those two priorities is going to get more effort and time? And you discover, right, why often internally game engine documentation is kind of crappy, okay, for many of these internal engines. Okay, so looking at this, it's a sweep. Why would anyone ever choose to make their own in-house engine? It's a total wipe, isn't it? How could it be possible that companies like Naughty Dog want to have their own internal secret sauce? Yes?
Is it for performance?
Oh, yeah, it can be. Yes, were you going to say it?
A one-up on other companies.
A one-up. I've been saying it time and again, it's that secret sauce, okay? The sauce is everything, all right? Customizability, okay? When you have an off-the-shelf engine, sometimes you can customize the engine. Unity, you have to pay a big fee, but then they'll give you the source code, and you can customize Unity and make it work the way you need. Unreal Engine is open source. So you can kind of get in there and get it cloned and rebuild it and customize it a bit if you want to. But for the in-house engine, you can customize every aspect of that engine to fit the exact kind of game you make to a T, okay? And all of your competitors who are stuck with the off-the-shelf engine, they're at a disadvantage, okay? They're not going to have quite the secret sauce that you have. They're not going to have full control the way that you do. And so, for some companies, especially companies that dominate a certain genre, this is everything, okay? Let me give you an example. Sucker Punch Productions. They are not a big team, but they do have their own custom in-house engine. Their engine is renowned across the industry for having the best particles ever. The best particle systems on the planet you'll find at Sucker Punch. And you'll find gorgeous particle systems that you can't believe running on the crappiest, cheapest PlayStation hardware on the market. Okay? You'll see good particle systems on PC, but only Sucker Punch is going to give you this kind of quality on a cheap console. Unity, my crappy little indie game running at 13 frames per second, okay? Low poly indie game, all right? Often, off-the-shelf engines need a lot of work to run performantly, and you can never quite get them to be as performant and powerful as an in-house engine can be. Okay, so sometimes you say that control is paramount, but I want to point something out. There's one company, Stardock, Michigan's largest game studio, about 20 minutes away from us. I was talking with one of their producers at the bar last night before office hours, and they're in here twice, 2 different places. Okay, why? Well, Stardock, if you didn't know, is a multi-engine studio. They use different engines, and they make a bunch of different games. They're famous for their high, big scale, gigantic simulation games, often set in space, where you've got like a bajillion ships and different units going into combat and doing different things, okay? Siege of Centauri, right? Gigantic, crazy tower defense game with just countless units, many more units than you see from a normal tower defense game. But Stardock also makes smaller games, a bit more casual games, right? Games not as focused on performance, like Political Machine, which are awesome, but could very much be made in Unity without too much of a fuss. So, you see, there's the Stardock engine, which is used for that genre we need to dominate. Stardock is about the biggest games on the planet, okay? The biggest simulation games. Put Civ to shame, okay? And we're going to use our secret sauce, proprietary, expensive engine for those games because it was built for exactly that game and no other engine can compete. And they did some really cool stuff to make that very highly parallel, by the way. But for these other games that don't need that secret sauce, we're going to use the off-the-shelf engine so we can get some really great dev time efficiency there. Runtime efficiency, dev time efficiency. Okay? You choose the right tool for the job. Some universal engine traits. These engines are always trying to help you iterate faster and faster and faster. They often include a quick play button that helps you quickly just get into the game, okay? Just a few seconds. Play the game, it's not right. Make a change, play it again. It's not right, make a change, play it again, right? All of that in 10 seconds. The Sims 4, if you wanted to compile and make changes to the C++ layer, the high performance core of the game, 40 minutes. Okay, 40 minutes. If you wanted to instead make a gameplay change, which lived in the scripting guest layer, seconds. 2-3 seconds, okay? Nothing. It was no big deal. It was really great, okay? You've got scripting languages like C#, very nice, kind of lightweight, very nice to program in, not C++, doesn't compile forever. You've got Blueprints, which is what Unreal Engine loves. It's a different kind of programming. You can't have any typos in Blueprints. And it's very, very nice for artists and designers and musicians in that sense, okay? And you can do cool things. Often, you take these scripts and you package them up into what we call, well, scripts or components. And you can pop those components onto a bunch of different objects. For instance, this clam right here is a tower in a tower defense game. It has a has data component, a team component, a desired position component, a vision component, a selectable component. Many of these components are also on normal units, right? Our character right here, who's just going to chill out, has the same components, okay? The vision component, and this one has some of those too. If you want to blind a character, you just take that vision component and you just turn it off, or you remove it. Suddenly, the character can't see. The tower can't see. It's a really good way to implement things like debuffs or buffs. Anyway, this is to say that in engines, you often want to package up your logic so you can pop them onto a bunch of different actors, okay? And that helps with code reuse in a very, very much. So really quickly, we'll finish up here, just a couple more minutes. When it comes to game engines, no industry is safe right now. Game engines have decided gaming is not enough, okay? And they're going after advertising, all right? We've got companies like Nike trying to figure out how to use these engines to create exhibitions, to improve their ads, make things more interactive. KFC has a game they released. I don't think I'll show it to you, but it exists. So look it up on Steam if you want to. Quicken Loans, now known as Rocket Mortgage, has a game team. They have a game team. They don't make games, they make exhibitions. They make tools, visualizations, stuff like that. The defense industry, okay? If you can stomach it, there's a lot of money to be made in creating training sims and stuff like that. Research. A really, really great way to conduct experiments is in a virtual world, it turns out. If you're NVIDIA, you don't want to pay for a bunch of licenses and permits and liability insurance to have your automotive self-driving tech driving around a real city. You build a fake one in Unreal Engine, and you don't have to worry about that stuff anymore. You can kind of train in a virtual world. Why not? Okay? The future will be juicy and immersive. There is no escape, and game engines are becoming the modern compilers, multimedia compilers, essential building block foundational tools that we need for basically everything. That's why, by the way, we really need these things to not just be in the hands of a bunch of big for-profit corporations. I don't think that's a great idea for the future. We need open source alternatives too, and for that we need a lot of public knowledge, which is why this course exists and hopefully why you're here. No industry is safe. Unity, IPO'd. Okay, Unreal is owned in big part by Tencent. Okay, these are organizations that need to go make money. Okay, I want to go retire, so they better go try and make some money. And so, they're going to try and expand. Okay, they have to try. They're expanding to film, architecture. Okay, anything to make stonk go up, and they're going to put on the squeeze. Okay, so we have to be very careful. All right, hopefully they don't squeeze too hard. The summary here, and then we're going to get out of here, do some office hours. Okay, the common engine kind of model. Okay, our terminology comes from the world of theater, and a lot of things are inspired from theater in the world of game engine development. There are three really big categories of engines: the beginner drag and drop, minimalist engine, which is very fond in many of our hearts as programmers, and that big deluxe but kind of scary integrated and industrial grade engine. You want the jobs? The integrated engines are where you're going to get them. Okay? Off-shelf versus in-house is a really, really important decision. Okay, do you choose to make your own engine, or do you grab one off the shelf and customize it as necessary? The former usually dominates these days, off-the-shelf engines, but the latter really has importance, especially if you're an important team at a company like Sony. Okay, Sucker Punch must have the best particles in the industry. They will pay a premium to make sure they do, whatever it takes, okay, to have that. Why? Because Sucker Punch's job is not to sell copies. Sucker Punch's job is to sell game consoles, okay? They create Ghost of Tsushima. Hopefully it sells well, but really it is meant as a showcase to sell the power of the PlayStation, all right? And so they have to do a really, really great job at that on very cheap hardware. I'm not sure if you've known, but the game consoles you buy at Best Buy or on Amazon, the Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, really, really weak, cheap hardware. Why? Because it has to be at a cheap price. These game consoles are like, what, $400, $300? You can't buy a crappy GPU these days for $300. Okay? A mediocre GPU is going for like $400, $500, $600, and you're going to spend $300 on a console that has to have a GPU, also has to have a CPU, its own memory, its own storage, its own Wi-Fi card, its own display, its own controls. Are you kidding me? The components in most game consoles are shockingly cheap and underpowered. How are you going to get the world's best particles the way that Sucker Punch does? You have to have the best knowledge in the entire industry, the best engineers, the best knowledge of the hardware, and people are really good at performance, okay? That's how you do it. You go onto those teams, you will find the most cracked talent you've ever seen in your life, okay? Really, really, really great talent at game studios. Okay, universal engine traits, right? quick iteration. The secret, if you want to get great games made, you have to be able to iterate. It is absolutely essential. If it takes 40 minutes to check whether your change worked, you won't be able to make many changes. And if you can't make many changes, you can't improve. If you can't improve, the game's going to stink, okay? Engines are about combining assets and logic. They provide you with scripting layer so that you can iterate quickly and you don't have to keep writing C++. And these game engines are eating the world. New industries are fallen seemingly by the day and finding ways to use these engines in really, really cool ways, okay? And that is what you need to know about game engines at a high level for these first 2 or so weeks, okay? This quiz coming up on Wednesday will hit some of these topics. Very soon, we will be diving back into that fun and familiar kind of world of C++. We'll be getting into a bit more of the nitty-gritty, talking about stuff like smart pointers, talking about performance topics. So I hope you will look forward to that kind of transition from the high-level world of game engines we've been in for 2 weeks to a low-level world of nitty-gritty C++ programming coming in about 1 week, okay? See you on Wednesday, all right? Have a good one. Office hours for the next 2 hours. See you there. Okay, everyone on Twitch, thank you for joining us. We will see you later. Bye-bye.